1967 in December.
Yeah.
I saw him playing when he was very young, and was blown away by his originality and his very Englishness at a time when most people were singing blues or certainly an American accent.
Yeah.
And I passed his information on to Joe Boyd, great manager and producer, who took him on, signed him to Island Records, and we all our musician friends, all loved him and all thought he would take off, and it just didn't happen. And then 3 albums later, it still hadn't happened. People hadn't grasped it. And he died in 74. So at the time, it was easy to miss him, you know. Although Island Records, you know, believed in him, his music was rather too subtle, probably. But with the passing of years, and the internet in particular, lots of people, young people nowadays, have rediscovered him.
He had a terrible, terrible struggle with mental illness, didn't he, with depression?
Well, he did, yes. Yes, it increased, you know, because he wanted to be successful. And it increased as it was obvious that he wasn't going to find that great success that he wanted.
Did you have much contact with him after you set him on the road, as it were, after you'd made that contact and said, look, this is a guy you should be looking at? Did your paths cross at all?
Yes, they did, yes. I mean, he supported Fairport Convention, which I was a founder member of, in the early days, and I would see him go in and out of the office, because Joe Boyd managed me and Fairport as well as he. And so, yes, I did bump into him. And then the last couple of years, we all lost touch with him, really, because he went into his shell and eventually went back to Tamworth in Arden.
When you saw him, Ashley, did you kind of get the sense, because his music is angst-ridden anyway, isn't it? In a sense, and I just wonder whether you can separate the artist from his work, you know, into his real life. It's difficult to get into the psyche of somebody and make sure that they're okay. Did you get any sense that he was struggling with depression when you saw him?
Not in the early days, not when I discovered him, in inverted commas, but it increased, definitely, you know, that anxiety. And his music absolutely reflects his life. He lived his music, and in the songs, many of which are wonderful songs, in the songs you can get his personality, yeah.
The interesting thing, I read an article by a really frank article actually by his sister Gabrielle, who I know better because my mum was a huge Crossroads fan, essentially. So I kind of know her acting work. But she was hugely honest, where she said how difficult it was to live with Nick and how difficult it was for her mum and dad and for Nick's mum and dad to you know, he kind of always went back home to them to try and rebuild himself when he'd found it difficult as well. He did have family support around him, but it just sadly didn't seem to be enough, did it?
No, we're all aware of the support that his family gave him, and indeed his mother, Molly, was a wonderful songwriter and pianist, and must have started him off on his trip to music, you know. Yes, they were very supportive, but, you know, nothing could stop the tide, yeah.
Very simplistic format, and it kind of almost, you know, when you look at the Ed Sheerans of the world now, you kind of think, I wonder how much they owe to that kind of...
Oh, lots of people do, Shane.
They do, don't they? The Nick Drake thing, you know, the feel, the vibe, the simplicity of it all. We've gone back to that now, haven't we, oddly enough?
We have. I mean, if he lived now rather than, you know, the late 60s, early 70s, he would probably be a great success, you know.
And the other thing as well, if you look pictures of him, and he's a really good-looking lad as well. He got the whole, everything, tick all the boxes, Ashley. Everything you need, good-looking, talented, you know, great
incredible
songwriter.
Guitarist.
Yeah, good guitarist.
Amazing guitarist.
Great songwriter. It should be everything on paper.
Yes.
Could we have done more for him, do you think, or?
Possibly, it's possible. But also, you have to think about the times. It's difficult to throw your mind back now.
No, you're right.
We're talking about psychedelia, the end of all that, and then the beginning of glam rock in the early 70s.
Yeah.
When everything was big and showy and colourful. Nick was very understated. So I think he would fit in more nowadays. Yeah.
And let's face it as well, we didn't talk as frankly about things like depression then as we do now, did we?
No, exactly right.
We didn't even have the conversation. Right. What are you up to these days? Are you taking it easy?
I'm 70 years old now.
You never are. You sound fab on it. You sound. You must be doing something right, Ashley. You sound great, mate. What are you? Do you play? Do you get out much?
Yes, I still play a bit. Yeah, but I have a book out. My first book, summing up the 50 years of writing. So it's my best song lyrics and poetry and stuff. It's called Words, 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 and I've been going around the country, including Warwickshire, reading from the book and telling the story of folk rock, really.